Hey guys, today we're going to be doing this painting right here. I am going to jump right into the stage where I've already done the drawing. I am putting a link down to the reference photo in the description, so if you want, you can just pause it right now, open up that link, have a look at the photo, and do your own sketch, and then jump in right at the painting stage where I get started here in a few seconds. And with that, let's jump right in.
Okay, so we are going to start with the horse itself, and we're going to go for a light brown wash, and we're just going to go over all of the parts that are highlighted. Well, we'll go over the whole horse. The only parts we won't make brown will be some of the parts of the rope. So we're just going to go over everything. I'll probably start here, and if we lose that edge there, that's fine. That will be kind of a natural edge anyway. So again, this is like a really watery burnt sienna, keeping it really light because we'll go over and do darker later. Right down. This paper is fairly smooth compared to some of the paper that I use, so the water just kind of glides down it pretty nicely, which is handy. Okay, so I'm painting around the halter here. Just pick up these little bits of extra water pooling at the bottom. And then down here, I'm just going to leave it a jagged edge because we're going to transition that into the grass. And actually, we'll just go right from here and move our way up. Which I don't know if is a great idea, moving your way up. So on this side, we don't need to, I'm just going to go up to the start, up to the top. Because with this paper, the color is moving pretty smoothly down, and I don't want to have to fight that the whole time. So I can go for a darker brown here. I don't need to be as worried as getting it so light because all of this is in shadow. So it'll get covered up. We'll go even darker here anyway. And I'm just going to leave this space in the middle right there. I'm not even going to, well, I'll go close. But we'll decide what we're going to do there later. We'll probably cover it over with some different colors. But I don't want to bleed into what we just did. So again, just picking up the excess water there. Do that right here too. Okay, next we'll move on to the trees. Okay, we're going to start up here with the trees, and I'm going to be using this flat brush. I don't use that very often, but I'm just trying to kind of work it in, practice with it a few more times. What I'm using is Sap Green and a Payne's Gray to kind of darken it up, and we will just go in somewhere right in here. I'm turning the brush on its side so that we leave a few gaps, and then I will be using it like that for some of the actual like foliage. Just go in here. So I'm lightening it up. I probably should have lightened it on the edges actually, out here. And darken it as we go in. I'm not going to go right to the edges of the paper. I'm just kind of going to leave white space around the edge. So I'll go here. It is important that we outline the shape of the horse, make sure we don't go and cut out stuff that we want to keep. I'm just going, this is like straight Payne's gray. Just adding in some spots there. Okay, and then somewhere around here, we will transition into the grass below. Maybe we should do that now. Might do that. So I'll just keep going down. So then we have this sunny strip. So I'm going to use yellow ochre. We'll kind of go like that along there to bring out that. And then go to Sap Green. It's going to be lighter. And then we can go back and do whatever we want in shadow. And then we're going back, yellow ochre. I'm going to leave some white spaces here for some like blades of grass. So I'm just varying sap green, yellow ochre, trying to keep it fairly loose and messy. And do that down at the bottom. Might just darken that up down there. Okay, so darker again. Wow, this is mostly sap green. If we keep it, I need to be careful of not making it too watery or it'll all bleed down. Yellow ochre, trying to mirror that sun spot coming through on the other side. Okay, and then going back to the dark, so I'm putting in Payne's gray. We'll just go right up here. Whoops. I want to preserve that ear, so I've got to be careful right there. Just going to add a little bit more up here. Okay. And I think we need a little bit more in here. I kind of left some, like that's quite a big white space to leave, so just go like that. Okay, we'll let that dry and then we will get into probably going back to the horse. Okay, we're back to the horse. So I'm just using more burnt sienna. We will be bringing in some of a darker brown in some spots as we go. So we'll start down here. Do all of this. I want to keep it fairly thick, like quite a bit of pigment, not as much water, all in here. Okay, and then as we get down here, I'm going to mix in umber, raw umber. Okay, and then there's a darker spot here, so I'll do the same. We'll go over this again with some darker spots, but for now we want it just darker brown. I'm just looking up at the reference kind of the whole way along here, trying to see where these different parts are. Okay, okay, I better do this part. I'm gonna put in some burnt umber. Go brown already here. And then that tip of the ear is actually in sun, so I'm gonna try to preserve that so that that tiny tip is showing, which is kind of nice. All right, so now I'm going to start up at the top on the shaded side of the horse. So I'm going brown and mixing it with burnt sienna. Now I kind of do want this, like in the picture, this right here is really red and has quite a bit of a nice, because the sun is hitting it, it has a nice kind of like glow to it. So I just want to make sure that I don't lose that while I'm doing my shadow. Okay, now I'm going to take a smaller brush and I'm going to wet it. It has no pigment on it. Wet it so that it's clean but it's wet, and I'm going to go along, wet it again, clean it off. There we go. I'm going to bring out some of these edges that we can see just by pulling off the paint in that area. And there's another one kind of here. That'll just bring out a nice subtle line without having to go and actually physically paint it on. We'll just see a little bit of those lines there. Perfect. Okay, I don't want to overdo it. And I see that we have probably a little bit too much paint pooling down at the bottom. So again, this is just a fairly dry brush, picking up the paint. Go right over here. Okay, I'm just going to finish off that last little leg that we didn't get to here. And then what I'm going to do is go back. I'm taking a really light burnt sienna. We're going to use a really light glaze on some of these spots on the right in here. So what I'm going to do is just go like that. Can barely tell. Probably need a little more there. And then I'm wanting to blend it. I don't want it to be a hard edge, so I'm trying to go like that. I might just put in a little more because it's barely even noticeable. That. Because it's all wet, it'll kind of bleed. Come down a little bit on this line. Then this top is a little bit of a hard edge, so I'll just fix that. Actually, it goes browner right there. Perfect. Okay, we'll let that dry before we touch it again. Okay, we're gonna add in some of these darker areas in the grass again, just go over them to really darken them up. So this, I want that to blend. Ooh, but still be dark. Losing control. That's okay. That can stop in here. Okay. I'm actually just going to continue it a little under here. Clean off my brush, fade that edge. Go dark again. Down here. Now, I'm going to do something. I'm going to scratch, and the back of my brush has this little point. You could do this with like anything pretty much, a credit card or any kind of thing. And I'm just going to bring out a few of these blades of grass like that. I don't do this very often. Some artists do it a lot. So I'm trying to start to use it a little more. Okay, so just kind of brings in the feeling of some blades of grass there. Now, I don't want this to be a hard edge, so I'm going to blend that out. And then I'm actually going to spray just so that it bleeds. There we go. Perfect. So there are some dark spots around, and I think since it's all wet now, that will be a good chance to be able to do some of those. So I'm just going to kind of blob in a few spots. And then I need to wet. Yeah, we'll just go down here, dark. I'm gonna wet this side. Do some dark blobs that'll just bleed. Try to really darken it up here at the bottom. And then continue it through a few places like that. Okay, I'm picking up on this shadow here. Oops, darker. And then right up here. And I touch the horse. So I pushed a little too hard and ended up pulling some paint that I didn't want to. So that is one of the problems with using that flat brush. It just has a little bit more spring to it, and so rather than lightly touching the top of it, it tends to pull paint a little more. So I'm switching back to my round brush. Just trying to blend that out so that it's not really strong. We still have a bit of that yellow ochre. Okay, I don't really know why I went right to the edge on there and didn't go here, but whatever. That's the way it is. I'm going to do a few more scratches in here, see if, yeah, they're showing. Okay. So I'm going to do a little bit of a sky. I'm just taking burnt sienna. I mean, not burnt sienna. Ultramarine blue. Light, quite watery. Just gonna go like this. Not gonna go all the way. Normally, if I was doing a sky, I would go all the way under the trees and everything. But I want this to kind of have a loose, sketchy feel, so just leave some white space. Got like a trailing hair coming off this brush. There's a few places where we'll kind of close it up and then leave some white space around the trees, and then it'll be fine. Bring it up to the horse. Perfect. Right, now to go even darker with parts of the horse, I'm now taking burnt umber, and I'm going to put in some Payne's gray so that it really darkens it up. And we will go back on some of these spots, like here, and really darken that spot up. It's maybe too dark, actually. Just put a little more water. And then that can almost connect with this spot down here. Okay, that will dry a little lighter. So then on the shadowed side, I'm going to do this kind of as a glaze because I want to keep those little lines that I put in on that last layer, right? So I'm keeping this a little wetter, but putting in Payne's gray. Hopefully it'll still be there. If not, we might have to do it again. This paper doesn't keep layers from underneath as well as certain papers. This is from my sketchbook, so it does seem to just pull off rather than keep an under layer. So I might just have to, I'll stop here and go back and re-bring out those lines. So cleaning off a brush again, going here. They maybe don't need to be as strong this time. Switching to a smaller brush. And then there. Okay, I'm just going to let things dry here for a little bit, and then we will keep on going on. There. Okay, so we're going on with the dark. I don't know if you definitely noticed. This edge is horrible, so I sure hope that your edge is a little better than this one. I'm going to try to fix it a little bit. I shouldn't have been using such a big brush. End up with some nice chunky legs. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully yours looks a little nicer than mine. Okay, so we'll go to this ear and add that. Then the shadow kind of moves across the forehead here. Right across. It does kind of lighten as it goes this side, so I'm just gonna let it get watery over there. Add more pigment on this ear because it's pretty dark. Remember, we're still trying to preserve that little highlight on the ear. Perfect. Pretty dark coming down. I don't know if you can hear the train in the background. The train is going by. Okay, I'm just going to add some lines in here because we're going to be adding some more later. Down here. Woo. Gotta be careful. We will later be going over the ropes probably be adding a bit of a gray wash just to distinguish the stuff that's in the shadow from the stuff that's in the sun. Okay, now we have the right side of the face. Right in here, so there's a little bit there, and then got a spot right here. Darken it up a little more. Okay. Then that last leg. And then as far as our darkest spots, we are pretty much done. No, we're going to be moving into some details here in a second. Alrighty. So, details. I'm going to take some burnt sienna and just be going like this. Okay, and then I'll probably go darker as well, add in a few different colors. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to do the same coming down the mane. So this is just burnt sienna. And then I'll go burnt umber, a little darker. I'm actually going to switch to an even smaller brush. And then very dark Payne's gray mixed with a little bit of burnt umber, so it's still brownish. And I think I need a bit more burnt sienna up here. Kind of go like that. It's pretty flat on top. There. It ended up being more brown than I kind of wanted it to be a little more red. So I guess my colors are a little mixing together, which is fine. Okay, I want to redden up this cheek here because it is nice and red in the picture, like that. Alrighty. We'll add some dark spots on the ropes here in a second. Okay, let's go down here to the grass. And for that, I'm just going to use all the same colors that we started using for the grass, but I'm gonna actually like bring them in with my little brush, bring in details of blades, and then, ooh, fat grass. We will probably end up mixing in a wash in here at the bottom especially. So key here, vary the colors, some Payne's gray, yellow ochre, you just want the feeling of some blades. We'll take them right back to the places where we scratched because we want those to kind of be there in the background. Wow, look at that guy. That is horrible. Both ended up in the same place. Okay, and then here we want some blades of grass that are passing over the horse. Okay, we can even do them more dense in there. Probably shouldn't have left that big white space there. Okay. A few more dark blades on this left side, and then I'm going to blend the bottom gonna make it loose again. I'm not too concerned about all this. Okay, so dark wash, Payne's gray, Sap green down here. I should probably spray. Hopefully that doesn't do too much to the actual horse. We were just touching that a while ago. Normally you shouldn't be spraying if you have wet stuff that could be affected. But it did dry fairly quickly. Okay, so we're just going like loose down here. Now I don't like how that all ended up being really one color, so I'm just gonna blend out some spots. I'm putting this is yellow ochre in just to bring some variety so that it's not one big block of color. And then actually I'm going to bring in a little bit of burnt sienna to bring some red tinge down there. And all of this is really loose. It's all just going to blend together. Now, what we can do, which we will do, and we're going to add some of this later. I'm using white. We're going to bring out a few of these kind of like little flowers that are there. But I'm just going to put some white while it's all wet. So I'm just so that, oh, that doesn't look like anything. Like that. Perfect. Just adding that in a few spots. We could, you can also like bring in some white spots with spray, but I haven't really gotten that good at that. And I think you need a bigger spray bottle. And we would have to wait. Well, no, we wouldn't have to wait, but we'd end up messing up some of the blades of grass that we've already done. And I just don't want to take that risk. Okay, whoa. I'm going to bring out a few more blades so that it connects with this wet wash that we just did. So just do a few more, especially connecting like this edge here. Not crazy about that. So put some there. All right. Okay, so we're moving on to the ropes now. So I'm going to use, like we did for the shadow parts, a Payne's gray and then a dark brown. And you can see which sides are going dark. So here, over this, where they join. This one's pretty thick. Okay, just all right. Now I'm gonna mix up. This is just Payne's gray. We'll just do Payne's gray, light watery Payne's gray, and just cover this part of the rope. Any part that's in shadow, just so that that looks normal, just like that. And we are close to being done. We'll add in the eye. Go again, that dark, the same kind of shadow color that we've been using. We will just go in there. Perfect. The one thing, there's a little shadow like here. I'm just gonna add that in. Yeah. Okay. A few little things here. I'm gonna, because we ended up adding this big red spot here, just gonna go like that. I'm gonna maybe thicken this up a little bit. Just add a little more to that left side. Like that. Okay, I'm gonna take white and we're gonna add some, I'm gonna mix it probably actually with yellow ochre so that we just get a really light color. I'm gonna add in a few more blades of grass, and then the other thing I'm gonna do is add in a few more white flowers up near the tops. So this is yellow ochre and white, trying to get a nice light color that'll stand out. Go right over some parts of the feet. Okay, and I'm going to go back to dark color again as well. A few more blades. This is the part where it's hard to know when to stop. At what point have you done enough? Just going to have one going there. Be loose and expressive. Put a few more down here in this block of color. Perfect. All right. So like I said, the last little thing we'll do is add on a few little like wildflowery bits. Do have to kind of try to add them in spots that are dark so that they'll actually show up, which I didn't do on the one there. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So I'll just sign this and we will call it a day, unless we want to add a couple birds. I do like adding birds. I'll just add two. Couple birds up here in the distance. Perfect. Done.
Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know in the comments what you thought. And as always, if you like videos like this and you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe so you can see more. And yeah, I'd love to see you in the next video.